Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Begum with you on this Tuesday, May 26, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, China and Serbia have pledged deeper strategic cooperation and stronger bilateral ties. U.S. authorities say forces have struck missile sites and mine-laying boats in southern Iran. And Shandong province is hosting local-level meetings with officials from Central and Eastern Europe. In business, China's telecoms report steady progress through the first 4 months of the year. In sports, China's Wu Yibing has won his first-ever main draw match at the French Open. In culture and entertainment, a Chinese opera company on tour in Brazil. Now the day's top stories. Chinese President Xi Jinping says China and Serbia should better align development strategies and explore new growth drivers. During talks with Serbian President Alexander Vučić, President Xi called for continued coordination in international affairs and true multilateralism. Ho Na has details.
During their meeting, Xi said China and Serbia have achieved positive results since jointly launching the building of a China-Serbia community with a shared future for the new era in 2024. He said the partnership has not only benefited the two peoples, but also set an example for international relations. Xi described the China-Serbia friendship as an ironclad friendship built on deep historical ties and mutual trust. He called on both sides to strengthen exchanges, deepen practical cooperation, and continue supporting each other on issues involving their core interests. The Chinese president also highlighted the need to align development strategies and advance Belt and Road cooperation, including projects in transportation, energy, and infrastructure. He said both countries should expand cooperation in emerging sectors such as artificial intelligence, digital economy, green energy, and advanced manufacturing. Xi also stressed the importance of people-to-people exchanges, saying the two sides should make full use of the visa-free free trade and direct flights framework to expand cooperation in culture, education, tourism, and local-level exchanges. Vučić congratulated China on the launch of its 15th five-year plan and expressed confidence in China's future development under Xi's leadership. He said Serbia highly values its relationship with China and firmly supports China on issues concerning its core interests. Vučić thanks Chinese companies for contributing to Serbia's economic development and infrastructure construction. He said the two countries have achieved significant progress since establishing a comprehensive strategic partnership. He added that Serbia looks forward to deepening high-quality Belt and Road cooperation and strengthening people-to-people exchanges. Vučić also praised China's role in international affairs, saying China has constantly treated smaller countries with equality and respect while upholding international law. Following the talks, the two heads of state witnessed the signing of more than 20 cooperation agreements covering politics, trade, science and technology, education, judicial affairs, and culture. The two sides also released joint statements on advancing the building of a China-Serbia community with a shared future for the new era, and on jointly promoting the implementation of the 4 global initiatives proposed by China, including the Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, Global Civilization Initiative, and Global Governance Initiative.
That was Ho Na on the meeting between the heads of state during the Serbian president's state visit. In the China-Serbia joint statement, the leaders reaffirmed their 2024 consensus on elevating bilateral ties. They agreed that the building of a community with a shared future in the new era is a common strategic choice made by both sides based on each other's development paths and the will of the people. They vowed to continue to leverage the strategic guiding role of head of state diplomacy, fully implement the consensus of the two leaders, and maintain close high-level exchanges through various forms. The two countries reaffirmed support for each other in safeguarding national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national dignity. Serbia stressed its adherence to the One China principle. Both sides agreed to establish an intergovernmental cooperation committee to guide and promote bilateral cooperation cooperation in various fields. They also vowed to promote the alignment of China's 15th five-year plan with Serbia's 2030 development strategy. The two sides promised to enhance exchanges in media, think tanks, film, radio, and television. Chinese companies have participated in a series of major infrastructure projects in Serbia, including the Hungary-Serbia Railway and the E763 highway, while also investing billions of dollars in the country's steel and mining sectors. China is also expanding investment in emerging industries such as computer chips and robotics. For more, Zheng Tao spoke with Chu Chang, a professor at the Belt and Road Research Center, Minzu University of China.
China has become one of Serbia's largest foreign investors and economic partners in recent years. How do you assess the overall impact of Chinese investment and Belt and Road cooperation on Serbia's economic development and regional connectivity?
China currently is investing a lot in Serbia, especially in the past few years. I think the total amount is going beyond 15 billion US dollars, so which is several times the second largest country investment in Serbia, and also many, many times than the European Union can bring to Serbia. So I think all those, investment actually accounted for more than 1/3 of the total investment from, foreign countries, and very much improved Serbia's infrastructures, upgrading of the industries and the local job market. For example, the railway and E763 highway project actually are building Serbia into a very important transportation hub in the Eastern Europe. I think China has been bringing back more than 40,000 jobs into Serbia, considering this country only have millions of in population. So this is actually a lot.
You earlier mentioned that cooperation between China and Serbia has traditionally focused on infrastructure, energy, and manufacturing. With new agreements expected in areas such as computer chips and robotics, how do you see the partnership evolving toward high-tech and innovation-driven industries?
I think currently, yes, I think China and Serbia's cooperation has been upgrading. Well, I think traditional cooperation is focusing on the traditional area, like we just mentioned, about infrastructures, mining, and industry. But that is just the version 1.0, and now I think we have been entering the version 2.0, which is, high technology and the new quality forces. So the Serbia can actually catch up with, their competitors in the mid-Europe and also in the Western Europe. I think more important impact has been coming in the human resources, because China actually has been partnering with Serbia in nurturing the human resources, the talents, and also to build the coordinated supply chain, linking this country, which is 10,000 kilometers away from China, towards the most busy and the most high value added Eastern Asian value chain.
And talking about China's capability on building infrastructure, major projects such as the Hungary-Serbia Railway have highlighted the growing strategic importance of China-Serbia cooperation. In your view, what broader role could Serbia play in China's cooperation with Central and Eastern Europe in the years ahead?
Well, Serbia has already become an important hub linking the Central and Eastern European regions. And in the future, I think is going to be an important springboard for all the capacities, to jumping through this area towards a larger market. Our cooperation in this region has already been, maturing and also creating lots of the benefit. But now I think we still need more pieces in this picture. So Serbia would be the next one. So I think through this, linkage railway, and I think Serbia can actually facilitate many more cross-border, cross-region projects. So it can become a facilitator of, human resources, logistics, and information and data in this whole region.
That was Professor Chu Chang at Minzu University of China. Excitement's growing in Serbia as the country works to develop its space program. It's doing so with assistance from China. Aliosa Milenkovic visited an observatory in Belgrade to learn about the projects.
For almost a century, astronomers at the Belgrade Observatory have explored the universe through this telescope. Now, with a technological quantum leap, scientists of this observatory are working on Serbia's first nanosatellite mission. Chinese partners are providing technical expertise, launch support, and the satellite platform itself. One of its primary tasks will be monitoring X-ray radiation from the sun.
I will show you quickly on this spectrometer. Here we have a preamplifier. This is this part, but this is the detector for X-ray. This is extremely sensitive part of the instrument and should not be touched by hand and so.
Researchers also plan to capture the first image of Serbia taken from a Serbian satellite in orbit. The original plan was to use a satellite built from 3 standard CubeSat units.
But after our collaboration with Chinese colleagues, we discussed about it to have 8 units CubeSat. So it is, I have to say, a big step to form a space agency in Serbia, and also very important to use experience that China has.
The launch is planned for the end of 2027. Projects like Mosaic are attracting growing attention in Serbia, not only within the scientific community, but also among technology startups and students who increasingly see the space sector as a future development opportunity, not just for them, but for the entire country. Serbian officials say the mission could become the nucleus for a domestic space-oriented industry, with future plans for a ground communication and satellite control center.
Chinese government decided to help us to get the knowledge that we needed so that we can develop our own space program and space projects. That space is not reserved only for the large countries, and the Chinese side, when they offered us a collaboration, they told us that any country that has space ambitions can be part of that large family.
With Mosaic, Serbian scientists could soon leave century-old stargazing tools behind.
That was Elios Milenkovic reporting. Coming up, U.S. forces have struck targets in southern Iran.
Discover the realities and responses to our changing climate with Climate Watch. Uncover critical issues such as the Masai Mara's disrupted wildebeest migration and the drop in the Panama Canal's water levels. Delve into solutions for a sustainable future. Tune in to Climate Watch on your favorite podcast platform. Become more eco-conscious and take action to protect our planet.
13 past the hour. U.S. Central Command says forces have struck missile launch sites and mine-laying boats in southern Iran. Israeli media reports that the strikes killed 4 Revolutionary Guard members. Media say Iranian air defense units shot down an enemy drone over the Persian Gulf. Hendrik Sybrandy has more.
Iranian troops suspected killed in the actions here. 2 IRGC boats, apparently, which were allegedly setting mines, were quote-unquote eliminated. A surface-to-air missile site in Bandar Abbas, which is the site of a major naval air base for Iran, that was struck. So those were the 2 actions that were taken by U.S. forces. There are the outlines of a potential emerging deal between the 2 countries, at least a temporary memorandum of understanding, but that's not locked in place by any means just yet. Will Iran feel taken aback? Will they express displeasure and protest what the U.S. has done here? Could that lead to a suspension of those talks? Obviously, that's something that many parties around the world would prefer not to see happen. So a lot of unanswered questions here, a lot of things that are up in the air, but obviously the Trump administration has done something rather bold here. Whether this is something that's going to lead to further problems this coming week between the U.S. and Iran, it's not clear at all about that just yet.
That was Hendrik Sybrandy reporting. U.S. media citing an Iranian official say the first phase of reopening the Strait of Hormuz will include the lifting of the U.S. blockade. Washington will also release $12 billion in frozen Iranian assets. Minesweeping in the strait will begin during that phase. The official said the memorandum of understanding between the 2 sides does not include a nuclear agreement, but rather a pledge to negotiate the nuclear issue later. The report by the Washington Post also cited a senior U.S. official that the memorandum memorandum of understanding commits the Iranians to not having a nuclear weapon. U.S. President Donald Trump wrote on Truth Social that negotiations with Tehran are proceeding nicely. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's asked Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and Jordan to join the Abraham Accords to normalize relations with Israel. Pakistan's rejected that proposal. Trump also said if the talks with Iran fail, Washington will resume military attacks on Tehran. Jim Spellman reports from Washington.
Both Iran and the U.S. are still signaling a deal is coming soon, but maybe not as soon as many hope.
No, we have no timetable or deadline for finalizing the framework agreement. Definitely for us, as the Islamic Republic of Iran, the sooner we can reach a conclusion that would secure Iran's national rights and interests, the better. And we won't spare any effort to reach that. At this stage, we will in no way be discussing details of the nuclear issue. The 14-point Memorandum of Understanding is focused on ending the war. If that happens, over a 60-day period, nuclear-related issues will be discussed.
Iran's top negotiators travel to Qatar as negotiations continue over some of the more sensitive issues, including the potential release of frozen Iranian assets. Meantime, here in Washington, the White House says the U.S. and Iran have agreed in principle to a deal to end the war, but that the agreement has not been finalized. Posting on social media Monday, U.S. President Donald Trump wrote in part, "It will only be a great deal for all or no deal at all, back to the battlefront and shooting, but bigger and stronger than ever before, and nobody wants that." U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, speaking in India, says a deal could come together soon.
We're still a work in progress. As I said, we thought we might have some news last night. Maybe today. I wouldn't read too much into it. It takes a little while to hear back. So we have what I think is a pretty solid thing on the table in terms of their ability to open up the straits, get the straits open, enter into a very real, significant, time-limited negotiation on the nuclear matters.
Trump is also demanding numerous Muslim countries sign on to his Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords are an initiative Trump began in his first term, aiming to normalize relations between Israel and some of its regional neighbors. Over the weekend, Trump told leaders of several predominantly Muslim countries that if a peace deal with Iran comes together, he wants them to sign on to the Abraham Accords, even suggesting on social media that, quote, it should be mandatory.
That was Jim Spellman on U.S. demands in the Middle East. There are concerns in Yemen over the spread of malaria during the rainy season. The country's healthcare system is already struggling to survive after years of conflict. Millions of people face growing difficulties accessing healthcare and basic medicine. Ahab Alfandi reports from Sana'a.
On an emergency room bed lies Ahmed Al-Haddad. He's one of the growing number of malaria victims in Yemen. Ahmed receives treatment and medical tests while doctors race against time to provide care in an overwhelmed healthcare system. To make matters worse, as the rainy season arrives, mosquitoes that carry the disease spread more rapidly.
I was brought from a distant area to the hospital where the doctors provided me with the necessary care, and thank God my condition has improved. Some medicines are available at the hospital, but other medicines are not, which forces us to buy them from outside pharmacies. The prices of these medicines are high for us, and we cannot afford them easily because of the difficult living conditions.
Yemen is witnessing an alarming rise in malaria cases, amid UN warnings over the growing spread of the disease in a country with an exhausted healthcare system after years of conflict. According to the World Health Organization, around 24 million Yemenis, nearly 64% of the population, live in high-risk malaria transmission areas.
At Al Jomhuri Hospital's emergency department, we receive many fever cases every day. Since the beginning of this year, we have been receiving many malaria cases. Malaria is transmitted through mosquitoes, which carry the infection from an infected person to a healthy person. Therefore, prevention depends on avoiding mosquito bites. The danger of malaria is that it can lead to several serious complications, including cerebral malaria. It can also cause an enlarged spleen and several other problems in the body.
Health data confirms the worsening crisis. More than 1.4 million people were tested last year. There were hundreds of thousands of confirmed cases, including severe infections and deaths. In Tai's governorate alone, more than 14,000 confirmed cases were recorded, alongside outbreaks of dengue, fever, and cholera.
That was Ahab Alfandi reporting. The Japanese government is set to drop a supplementary budget of more than 3 trillion yen, roughly $19 billion for fiscal 2026, to cushion the impact of rising energy prices. Prime Minister Sanai Takeichi said the government will also tap 500 billion yen from reserve funds to help households cover utility bills during peak summer months from July through September. The announcement came amid growing calls from the ruling and opposition parties for measures to ease the impact of soaring crude oil prices caused by the Middle East tensions. The Japanese government reinstated gasoline subsidies in March and expects to spend hundreds of billions of yen each month to keep retail prices at around 170 yen per liter. The enormous spending has drawn pushback, with some lawmakers calling for the subsidy program to be gradually scaled back to relieve fiscal pressure. The envisaged supplementary budget, which comes on top of a record 122 trillion yen spending plan for the current fiscal year starting in April, has further fueled worries about Japan's already strained fiscal position. Coming up, Shandong province is hosting local-level meetings with officials from Central and Eastern Europe.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
At 22 past the hour, Shandong province is hosting the China Central and Eastern European country local leaders meeting. The International Friendship Cities Cooperation and Exchange Week is also running in the Eastern Province. More than 600 guests from over 40 countries are discussing cooperation in areas including the digital economy, green energy, and modern agriculture. An estimated 30 million people outside China are using the Chinese language. Demand's especially high in Africa and Asia, fueled by economic ties and career opportunities. Martin Lowe has more from Thailand.
A Chinese language class at a university in Bangkok. Many Thai students see Mandarin as the language of the future, offering greater career opportunities through China's expanding economy and initiatives such as the Belt and Road. Family heritage is also a major motivation, as many people in Thailand are of Chinese descent. At the same time, Mandarin proficiency is increasingly valued in Thailand's tourism industry, with China consistently ranking among the country's largest sources of international visitors.
Since Chinese plays a crucial role in today's economy, I believe understanding the language will be very beneficial.
For my highest dream, I want to be the air hostess. That's my very big dreams, and I hope that one day I can use my Chinese to work on airplane.
For Thai and Chinese people to do business together, they need to start by learning Chinese. It is the key for international cooperation.
Mandarin classes are now being offered in a growing number of both private and public schools, with up to 1 million Thai children currently enrolled. Chinese language courses have also become increasingly popular at private language centers across the country.
The reason why we decided to open our new Chinese course because the demand from students like Thai students who come here to learn English, they also inquired about the Chinese language as well.
A lot of young Thais are avid consumers of Chinese video and pop culture on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. And increasingly, many want to produce it themselves in Chinese. This influencer already posts on Chinese sites.
If I can speak Chinese, it gain more job. Like, I can speak third language. It made me feel more confident.
I usually add Chinese subtitles, but since I can't speak the language, yet I want to learn.
Here in Thailand, Chinese is the most widely spoken foreign language after English. Many believe that being fluent in both English and Chinese provides a major advantage in today's global workforce.
That was Martin Lowe reporting on the interest in Chinese among Thai students. China's image among many young people in Brazil is increasingly shaped by short videos on social platforms. One Chinese content creator has become one of the most influential voices in that space, using everyday stories and personal experiences to connect cultures and challenge stereotypes. Cao Xuan has more.
For many Brazilians, understanding China now starts with a swipe on a mobile phone screen. One of the people helping shape that conversation is Chinese content creator Wang Yili. Yili moved to Brazil with her family as a teenager. Today, she teaches Chinese language and has built an online following of millions through Portuguese lesson videos about Chinese society, culture, and daily life. She says successful communication starts with understanding your audience.
When talking about China to foreigners, first you need to use a language they understand. Second, you need to present it in a way they're willing to listen to, understand, and relate to.
Yili often begins with familiar details from everyday life, using small stories to spark curiosity and gradually build a deeper understanding of China. Some of her videos also address more sensitive topics, including perceptions of China's military development. She says many viewers initially see images of China's military strength as threatening, so she tries to provide historical context.
Many foreign audiences see China's military strength as a threat. So I first speak from their perspective, then explain why China values national defense and peace after years of historical humiliation.
As her audience grows, sometimes Yili has to face criticism. Instead of ignoring negative comments, she decided to engage with them.
If people spend time watching my videos and leaving comments, it means they are interested in China in some way. If people like me stop speaking, then who will tell China's story?
Yili also uses comparisons and dialogue to challenge stereotypes, and her work appears to be encouraging more people to learn Chinese and explore the country firsthand.
I decided to learn Chinese because I work in the hotel industry, and recently we've had more and more Chinese guests.
After learning Mandarin and visiting China, I became more interested in Chinese dramas and Chinese culture.
For Yili, these growing connections show that culture understanding often begins with simple conversations, and sometimes with a short video watched on a mobile phone. For the Beijing Hour, this is Cao Xuan in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Chinese authorities have issued an additional 160 million yuan in natural disaster relief funds to support several rain-hit provinces and regions. It's roughly $22.2 million. Torrential rains continue across the southern and central parts of the country. More than a dozen counties in Jiangxi province have experienced heavy downpours. In Wuyuan County, water levels along the Rao River have risen above the warning line. Shops were flooded, residents trapped. Cumulative rainfall exceeded 370 millimeters in Anlu, Hubei province, leading to severe urban flooding. Local authorities have deployed over 1,000 firefighters to carry out rescue operations. Chongqing has issued its first top-level red alert for the year for geological disasters. Heavy rainfall has triggered natural disasters in Yongchuan district, resulting in at least 9 deaths. Britain recorded its hottest May 2nd on record on Monday, with temperatures hitting 34.8 degrees Celsius at Kew Gardens, breaking a record that had stood since 1922 and 44. Dr. Hannah Cloak with the University of Reading warned that increasingly extreme weather is putting more people at risk, especially farmers facing drought and potential crop failures later this summer.
They haven't had the water input they need, and this can really be a problem thinking about having that harvest later in the summer. There could be some really big problems with failed harvests.
The Met Office said climate change driven by greenhouse gas emissions made the record-breaking heat 3 times more likely. The temperature also marked the hottest public holiday ever recorded in the UK. At 29 past, Beijing is cloudy through tomorrow. A low of 17. The high is 27 for Wednesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall tonight. Tomorrow, cloudy. The low is 24, a high of 28. Chongqing will have a light rainfall through tomorrow, down to 23 degrees, a high of 32. Nanchang has thunder showers tonight and tomorrow. A low of 26 and a high of 30. Lhasa will be cloudy and down to 10, followed by light rain and 21. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, China and Serbia have pledged deeper strategic cooperation and stronger bilateral ties. U.S. authorities say forces have struck missile sites and mine-laying boats in southern Iran. Shandong province is hosting local-level meetings with officials from Central and Eastern Europe. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers, from the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers, even the solid ground beneath our feet. And right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Ever wondered what's actually going on in Africa through the perspective of an African? How are things really going between China and Africa? What's the narrative of this relationship? Well, get a perspective with China-Africa Talk. Hear from African diplomats, entrepreneurs, academics, Chinese natives, and more. Get on our wavelength every week to find out what's real with China-Africa Talk. Find us on your favorite podcast. We'll see you there.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Tuesday. Still to come. In business, China's telecom supports steady progress through the first 4 months of the year. In sports, China's Wu Yibing has won his first ever main draw match at the French Open. In culture and entertainment, Chinese opera company on tour in Brazil. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account at CGTN Radio. But now to check the day's headlines, here's Tianyu.
Thank you, Shane. China and Pakistan have issued a joint statement on further deepening their bilateral partnership as Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif paid an official visit to China. The statement says both sides are determined to safeguard and develop bilateral relations, maintain high-level exchanges, and foster an even closer China-Pakistan community with a shared future in the new era. The two countries reaffirmed support for each other's core interests. They agreed to advance Belt and Road cooperation and promote the development of the upgraded version 2.0 of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. They also agreed to tap cooperation potential in various fields, including economy, trade, energy, and scientific and technological innovation. The statement says China stands ready to work with Pakistan to fully implement the Global Security Initiative, establish a China-Pakistan security partnership, and continue bilateral and multilateral counter-terrorism cooperation. China says it is willing to continue playing a constructive role in the political and diplomatic settlement of the Iranian nuclear issue. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said China has always supported a peaceful settlement of the issue through dialogue and negotiations. She added that China will continue to help safeguard the international nuclear non-proliferation regime and promote peace and stability in the Middle East and the world. Mao also expressed hope that all parties will seize the opportunity to negotiate a solution that considers the legitimate concerns of all sides. The World Food Programme says the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is colliding with a worsening hunger crisis, while aid cuts are hampering response efforts. Ituri Bureau Chief Olivia Nkakudulu warned that containment measures will fail if affected communities do not receive food assistance.
In the absence of resources, we will have to prioritize. We won't be able to reach everyone. We already have people who are food insecure, and sometimes difficult choices will have to be made between those who are food insecure and those who need assistance with Ebola.
So far, there are more than 900 suspected cases and over 220 deaths. Health officials say the virus spread undetected for weeks because authorities initially tested for the more common Zaire strain before identifying the rarer Bundibugyo strain. Aid agencies have flown supplies into Bunia to support the hardest-hit towns. But mistrust among residents has complicated response efforts, with 2 treatment centers reportedly burned down. Funding shortages have also left aid groups struggling to secure protective gear, testing kits, and safe burial equipment needed to contain the outbreak. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says Mexico is willing to host Iran's national football team during the World Cup, while the squad travels to the United States for its group stage matches. Sheinbaum said FIFA asked Mexico whether Iran could remain overnight in the country while playing matches in the U.S.
The United States doesn't want the Iranian national team to stay overnight in the U.S. They asked us if they were going to play all 3 games over there, if they could stay overnight in Mexico. And we said yes, no problem. We have no issue with that.
Sheinbaum said Iranian officials are considering the northern border city of Tijuana as the team's base camp during the tournament. Iran had originally planned to train in Tucson, but moving its base to Mexico emerged as an option amid uncertainty surrounding the conflict in the Middle East and security concerns. Iran is scheduled to face New Zealand in Los Angeles on June the 15th. And finally, U.S. authorities in Garden Grove, California, say they have eliminated the threat of a possible explosion involving a tank full of toxic chemicals. The Orange County Fire Authority said pressure inside the overheating tank has stabilized after a crack allowed gases to safely escape. Officials described the development as incredibly positive news. However, evacuation orders affecting around 50,000 people across 6 Southern California cities remain in place as crews continue monitoring the site.
All right, thank you very much. That's Tianyu with headlines. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China's telecoms report steady progress through the first 4 months of the year.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
37 past now. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed mixed on Tuesday. The Shanghai Composite was down nearly 0.2%. The Shenzhen Component gained over 0.1%. Industrial metals and non-metal materials shares were among the top gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index remained almost flat. Japan's Nikkei decreased roughly 0.3%. China's telecommunications industry operated steadily during the first 4 months of the year. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology says continuous progress was made in the construction of network infrastructure such as 5G, gigabit optical networks, and the Internet of Things. By the end of April, the total number of 5G base stations exceeded 5 million, a net increase of 171,000 from the end of last year. The figure accounted for nearly 39% of the total number of mobile base stations, an increase of 0.5 points compared to the first quarter. Various regions accelerated the penetration of gigabit broadband and 5G users. By the end of April, the penetration rate of 5G mobile phone users surpassed 68%, representing an average increase of nearly 2.8 points from the end of the previous year. China's outbound direct investment across all industries reached over 429 billion yuan during the first 4 months of the year. That's around $62.8 billion US dollars. The figure represents an increase of 3.9% on a yearly basis. Domestic investors made non-financial direct investment in over 5,000 overseas companies across 142 countries and regions, with the investment value totaling 315.7 billion yuan. Over 20,000 new overseas invested firms were established across the country, up 6.8%. This underscores sustained confidence among overseas investors in the Chinese market. Experts say Huawei's announcement of a new scaling law for advanced chip development is a major milestone for the domestic chip industry. The Tau scaling law proposes replacing geometric scaling with time scaling. It seeks to continuously compress signal propagation delays through innovative technologies such as logic folding. Huawei says the new law will guide the future evolution of semiconductors and electronic systems. It comes as Moore's Law, the long-standing industry principle that chip performance improves improves as more transistors are packed into smaller chips, is nearing physical and economical limits. Based on the Tau scaling law, Huawei successfully designed and mass-produced over 380 chips over the past 6 years. For some analysis, Song Rui-Xin spoke with Dr. Liu Xiaoshan with the Shenzhen Institute of Artificial Intelligence and Robotics for Society.
Dr. Liu, many of us may not fully understand all the technical terminology around semiconductors and scaling laws, but in practical terms, what concrete improvements or real-world impact could this tall scaling law bring to the future products?
Well, it's quite interesting. So we have something called the Moore's Law, which is the gold standard for semiconductor. The Moore's Law says that the number of transistors on a chip would double every 18 to 24 months. So it focuses on the space utilization of a semiconductor chip. But then now, as technology advances, we have hit a physical wall. It's no longer possible, or it's very challenging to keep up with the Moore's Law. So the Tao's Law is basically saying, even without keeping pace with Moore's Law, we can still improve the performance of a modern chip by utilizing multi-level of optimization instead of just jamming more transistors on a fixed chip size. So basically, if we translate to layman terms, even without the most advanced semiconductor manufacturing equipment, we can still do more advanced chips.
Of course, proposing a new technological framework is one thing, but turning it into large-scale industrial reality is another. So from implementation to manufacturing and eventually commercial deployment, what major challenges do you foresee along the way? And which stage is likely to be the most difficult?
Well, I think because Huawei have some proven track record to support, evidence to support, and they have set a very aggressive goal to achieve 1.4 nanometer equivalent performance by the year of 2031. So it's about 5 years away that they will hit a very major target. In terms of barriers to overcome, I think there are a lot. Now we are not talking about optimizing one thing, which traditionally be the technology of chip manufacturing. You're talking about going around the technology wall with many layers of optimization, whether it's on the circuit design, whether it's on the system design, whether it's on for example, the memory design, and so on and so forth. So that demands multi-level of advancement together in order to hit the aggressive target. So it's a daunting challenge.
Do you think this technology alters the competitive dynamics of the global semiconductor industry, especially for late-moving players seeking to bypass traditional scaling path?
Yeah, I think so, because in this industry, people follow Moore's Law. That's the gold standard that people follow. So when people plan for next generation technology, they would make an assumption based on Moore's Law. So following that trend, when the US put a ban on chip manufacturing machines, they would expect to slow down the progress of Chinese chips. But then because of Tao's Law, we apply the different levels of system optimization together. We kind of go around that assumption. So it's a game changer. If that stands, if this is successful, then people might not solely rely on Moore's Law for scaling in the future.
That was Dr. Liu Xiaoshan talking about the new scaling law for advanced chip development that Huawei has just unveiled. A professional business-to-business trade show ITB China is underway in Shanghai, serving as a platform for global travel suppliers to connect with China, the world's largest outbound tourism market. The international travel event has brought together hotel groups, airlines and cruise lines, and travel operators from many countries. This year's ITB highlights the potential and opportunities within the Chinese travel market. And compared to last year, the scale of the events increased by 30%. It's attracted over 700 exhibitors and more than 1,400 buyers from 85 countries and regions. Industrial experts say China's approval of the 6G trial spectrum will promote development of the technology from laboratories to real-life scenario applications. The approval authorizes 6G technology trials in selected regions. The move aims to advance technical research, testing, and validation based on the key scenarios and performance indicators defined by the International Telecommunications Union. The ministry says following this approval, 6G technology research and development will gradually move from laboratory simulation and indoor prototype testing to real-world scenarios. More than 500 AI products from 100 brands are now available for hands-on testing and purchase at a newly opened AI Matrix store in Shanghai. At Met AI Hub in Zhangjiang AI Innovation Town, visitors can directly experience how AI shapes future lifestyles. Lei Sharan has details.
Open in May, the nearly 2,000 square meter space departs from traditional display-only tech venues by encouraging visitors to touch, test, and interact with latest AI products. The store houses 6 theme zones, including robot interaction and AI healthcare experiences. Among the most popular attractions is this AI health screening system that generates a rapid health assessment report with 90 seconds through non-contact sensing technology.
Previously, this product hasn't seen much deployment in Shanghai. In the future, we hope the product can support the intelligent upgrade of scenarios such as family living, community services, and medical health and wellness.
The store also functions as a makerspace for innovators, helping startups test products in real-life scenarios and shorten the average of 6 months it takes to turn the concept into reality down to 3 months.
Here we can see those advanced processing equipment, including 3D printer and laser engraver. We also have a highly experienced technical team that helps one-person companies quickly bring their ideas to life and conduct model testing.
In addition, the AI Matrix store aims to serve as a global launch platform for AI products and a gateway for startups expanding overseas.
When their products are still in the prototype stage, we will build a complete funding mechanism for producers, allowing many global geeks to get a sneak peek. We also hope to combine online and offline channels for this overseas expansion platform.
Zhao says they will build the store into an AI ecosystem center rather than a traditional retail outlet. It will combine experience, commerce, incubation, and social interaction.
That was Lei Sharan reporting. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, and coming up in sports, China's Wu Yibing has won his first ever main draw match at the French Open.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past now, and turning to sports, here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. In tennis, China's Wu Yibing has won his first ever main draw match at the French Open, beating Marcus Giron in straight sets. The 26-year-old fired 51 winners and broke Giron 5 times. This is his first main draw victory at the French Open and the 5th career win in the Grand Slam main draw. Wu reached a career-high ranking of 54 in 2023 before injuries sidelined him. He now advances to face 10th seed Flavio Cobolli.
His playing style is quite obvious, and I think I played quite well. In some service games, my first serve was solid, but sometimes I hesitate a bit and should have come to the net faster. Overall, it's a good start for me here, but there's still room to improve.
Elsewhere, 11th seed Andrei Rublev has also booked a place in the second round. He defeated Ignacio Buzzi in 4 sets. 5th seed Ben Shelton also advanced, defeating Daniel Merida in 3 sets. Former champion Stan Wawrinka has ended his Roland Garros career with the first round loss to Jesper de Jong. Retiring at the season's end, the 41-year-old suffered a defeat in 4 sets. As a 3-time Grand Slam winner who beat Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic in past the finals, Wawrinka closed his Paris chapter with 46 and 20 records and received a video tribute from the Big Three.
Yeah, it was amazing, more than what I could expect and what I could dream of. Finishing with so much support, so much love from the people. It was exactly the reason why I kept playing for so long. It's never easy to say goodbye to something you love so much, and you dedicate all your life for it. So of course it was and it will be difficult to leave Roland Garros.
Home favourites Gail Memphis also lost in the first round, going down to Hugo Gaston in 5 sets. On women's side, 6th seed Amanda Anisimova is now in the second round with a 6-3, 6-1 victory. Anisimova says the first round is always tough.
Yeah, for sure. The first round of a slam is never easy, and obviously I haven't played a clay match yet, so it was definitely going to be interesting to go into it. But overall, I was really excited and feeling good, really happy to be back playing. So yeah, just really happy to be through to the next round.
Former French Open champion Elena Ostapenko is through to the second round in Paris with a straight sets victory over Ila Scheidel. 10th seed Karolina Muchova defeated Anastasia Zakharova in straight sets. They are joined by Iga Swiatek and Elena Rybakina. In the NBA, the New York Knicks are heading to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999 after routing the Cleveland Cavaliers 130-93 on the road to complete a 4-game sweep. Jalen Brunson had 15 points and earned the Larry Bird Trophy as Series MVP.
The belief that the organization has in me has been amazing, and it's something I don't take for granted, and it's something that not a lot of people get the opportunity to do so. So I'm very thankful, and it's an honor to be here in this city and for this organization and this with my teammates. And obviously these guys have my back.
Donovan Mitchell scored a game-high 31 for Cleveland. New York is on an 11-game winning streak. They will face either the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder or the San Antonio Spurs in the finals. With just over 2 weeks until the FIFA World Cup, the Trophy Tour has reached Toronto, one of the host cities. Canada will host 6 matches. This is the first time Canada has hosted the World Cup. Former Italian star Alexandro Nesta unveiled the trophy. The tournament opens June the 11th in Mexico City. Still in football from the FIFA World Cup, European champion Spain will travel to next month's tournament with plenty of Barcelona players, but no one from Real Madrid, after manager Luis de la Fuente named a 26-man squad with around 8 players from the Catalan club. Defenders Dean Huijsen and Dani Carvajal were among the Real names to miss out, leaving Barcelona to provide the spine of a team chasing Spain's second World Cup title after their 2010 triumph in South Africa. De La Fuente played down the absence of the club's players, preferring to highlight those who are on the squad.
I'm the national team manager. I don't look at where the player is coming from. I think I've mentioned this on several occasions. I only consider whether the player has the potential to play for us. As far as I'm concerned, they're players for the Spanish national team, for the Spanish national side. I don't look at whether they're coming from one team or another. I don't have their localist mindset as some fans might have. My approach is more global, and I look at them as a player for the Spanish national team.
It's the first time that Spain will go to a World Cup without a Real Madrid player on the squad. And finally, in Manchester, Pep Guardiola and his City team celebrated their domestic cup double along with their Super League winning women's side during an open-top bus parade. Guardiola announced on Friday that he would be leaving the club after 10 years, having won 20 trophies during his tenure. City won the English League Cup and FA Cup this season, which are the last bits of silverware for the Spanish manager.
All right, thank you very much. That's Yang Guang with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, and coming up in culture and entertainment, a Chinese opera company is on tour in Brazil.
The best military commander is not he who fights 100 battles and wins every one of them. The best military strategy does not lead to the desiccation of the enemy's capital city. Decoding the art of war will help you understand why there's no art in war and how Sun Tzu stayed undefeatable using the science of war, with fun stories and insightful breakdown of famous battles. Find Decoding the Art of War wherever you listen.
53 past the hour. In culture and entertainment, the China National Peking Opera Company has been on tour in Brazil, bringing performances and workshops to audiences as part of a cultural year celebrating ties between the two countries. Paulo Cabral reports.
Performers from the China National Peking Opera Company are getting their costumes, makeup and voices ready backstage at Brazil's National Theatre in Brasilia, as members of the public are welcomed in for a deep dive into Chinese culture.
This year is the cultural year of Brazil and China friendship. So, and the female generals of young family is the classic program of Chinese Peking opera.
The women generals of the Yang family tells the tale of the women of the Yang clan who take up arms to defend China after their husbands and sons die in battle. Peking Opera blends music, movement and acrobatics in a tradition that has captivated audiences for over 200 years.
I'm a choreographer with a dance company, and we research a lot of the musical side. Music is what has really drawn me in, the way the musicians are developing the performance, the type of rhythmic musicality as well.
After a more explanatory first act, audiences return for the dances, acrobatics and combat scenes, for many a highlight of the show.
Appreciating a performance of the Peking Opera can already be a great experience for art lovers, and those wanted to dig deeper into this cultural expression also had the opportunity to take part in workshops with the artists who carry this tradition to stages all over the world.
The workshop begins with some explanations about Chinese opera and demonstrations by the professional artists. Then, the public is invited on stage to experience the opera through movement.
During my theater degree, I was already very interested in contemporary Chinese drama. We touched a little on the Peking Opera, and when I found out about this, I thought it would be a great opportunity to see this incredible work up close.
For many in the theater and in the workshop, it was a first encounter with Chinese opera, and as exchanges between Brazil and China grew, possibly not the last.
The 11th French-Chinese Film Festival is opened in Strasbourg with over 100 guests. China's Consul General expressed hope for deeper French understanding of China through films. Speakers praised Sino-French film exchanges. A full theater watched the 1937 short Dream of a Spring Boudoir and the feature Like a Rolling Stone. The film festival runs until the end of June with Chinese films screening in 10 French cities. To date, the festival screened over 100 Chinese films and reached more than 250,000 French viewers. The China edition of the John Moores Painting Prize is launched in Shanghai, calling for entries nationwide. Co-hosted by the Jiaoshu Art Museum, the competition will hold a final exhibition early next year. The museum aims to support young artists and promote Chinese painting globally. Since its establishment in 2010, the competition's attracted tens of thousands of artists from across China to submit their works. The event also strengthens the sister city ties between Shanghai and Liverpool, home of the prestigious UK Prize founded in 1957. A cultural salon in Dar es Salaam has brought together Chinese and Tanzanian artists to deepen bilateral ties. Hosted by the Chinese embassy, the event featured traditional dance, tea ceremonies, and porcelain exhibits. Chinese ambassador Chen Mingjian recalled the ancient maritime Silk Road as a blue bond between Chinese and African civilizations. And Tanzanian officials have called culture a bridge for peace and diversity. Beijing's hosted the first China-Balkan Cultural Exchange Forum. Nearly 100 experts from 11 countries, including China, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Germany, took part in the event at Capital Normal University. They explored new paths for Balkan studies and ways to deepen cooperation. 57 past the hour. Beijing will be cloudy overnight through tomorrow, a low of 17, and it's up to 27 on Wednesday. Shanghai will see a light rainfall tonight. Tomorrow's cloudy, a low of 24, a high of 28. Chongqing will get a light rainfall through tomorrow, a low of 23 and a high of 32. Nanchang has thunder showers through tomorrow, a low of 26 and a high of 30. Lhasa will be cloudy with a low of 10 degrees. That's followed by a light rainfall and 21 degrees Celsius. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, China and Serbia have pledged deeper strategic cooperation and stronger bilateral ties. U.S. authorities say forces have struck missile sites and mine-laying boats in southern Iran. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio